In this section of the training, we'll talk about how to create the perfect video ad for YouTube. Okay, so in the previous section, we talked about window shoppers, in-store shoppers, and checkout shoppers, and understanding their mindset, where they're at in the buying cycle, so we know how we would interact with them in a bricks and mortar store, which is pretty much the same way as we need to interact with them when it comes to online. Now, if we wanted to talk to checkout shoppers, we need to make sure we do everything in our power to get them to take some sort of action. They're ready, maybe they're ready to buy, maybe they're ready to take some sort of action in terms of clicking a link in your video to go and register for something. Whatever it might be that you're doing to get them to move closer to a purchasing decision, we need to do everything we can to really lubricate that whole process, make it easy. We've already done a lot of motivation, they're ready to make a purchase, so that bit's covered. But now what we need to do is make it as easy as possible. Click one link, register for something. Click one link and buy something. Make it as easy as possible. That's really important for this stage. And I'm going to show you something we did with Brendan Burchard so you can see how easy it is when it comes to your video ads. Okay, now in the in-store shopper stage, these people are coming into your store asking questions of your sales representatives, if it was like 20 years ago, for example, wanting to know more advice. But of course, with the birth of online, it means that we can go and do all that research ourselves online at places like Google, blogs, review sites, etc., and Amazon as well. So these people are looking for more information, and so we need to give them quality advice. Give them helpful tips and strategies and techniques that you can provide them with. And we'll talk about exactly how to do that, and I'm going to bring up Neil Patel as an example of what we use, something called education. Then, also, if you want to get in front of window shoppers, remember these people are outside peering in. They're interested, but they're not really ready to engage with you as a company just yet, unless you've got something amazing for them, unless you can grab their attention. And that's exactly what you need to do with this audience. You need to grab their attention. So it's attention, advice, and action. To grab their attention, we're going to talk about something called a schema violation. And whilst that sounds very aggressive indeed, I promise you it's not. I'm going to walk you through a demonstration that we did with Frank Kern in this scenario as well, so you can really get a feel for how this stuff works. Okay. So let's talk about the video ad, or the perfect video ad structure. Schema violation. What you want to do with a schema violation is do something unexpected, but also it has to be related to your message. Now, when we see something in our environment that's unexpected, two things happen. First of all, the brain goes into a bit of a shock and it's like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. That's different to usual, and it pays attention from the very beginning. So doing something different makes people pay attention. It's like a survival mechanism. But that's what a lot of people talk about, but people rarely talk about the second stage of that process. The second stage is the mind opens up for learning. Now, I'm in the studio here today, but the very first day that I moved into this new studio and the office that's adjacent to this building as well, when we moved in, I couldn't actually work out how to work the glass doors. There was a card and a push button, and then also you had to kind of like walk in at the same time. Look, I know how to use doors, okay? That's not a problem of mine that I typically experience. However, for this first time going through this glass door, I couldn't get it right. But the bad thing is that inside there was reception, and there were two people on reception, and there were other people in the foyer as well, looking and laughing at me as I was just not being able to get into the building. And for me, not that it was mortifying, but it definitely was one of those moments where I felt a bit embarrassed. Two things happened for me. One, I couldn't work it out, so my mind was a bit shocked, like, this is new, I haven't seen this before, why can't I open this door, feeling a bit silly. But the second thing that happened for me is that I was ready to learn anything at that point in time. Literally, I would have done anything to open that door. If someone behind me came up and said, Tom, what you need to do is put one hand on your knee, turn around 3 times, and then use the card, I probably would have done it. Now, that might be me being gullible, but it's also what happens with all of us. We go through that little window where something new happens, our kind of attention is fixed on whatever that thing is that's new, but the other thing of it is that it opens up the mind and we're ready to learn, and really learn, like deep embedded learning, because it's for survival, right? If you're clever enough to be able to get a really good story into someone's brain at that point, you will never be forgotten. And that's the power of video. If you can create videos, people will remember you. People will not forget you. Now, that can be for good reasons, and it can also be for bad reasons, so you need to be careful, but video has that power. We always forget text and images that we might see, but we very rarely forget a video if it's impactful. And that's exactly what I want to show you how to do. So let me give you an example of Frank Kern, and you can probably watch this video and see exactly how this would grab your attention from the very beginning.
My name is Frank Kern, and I have been kicked out of a strip club. in the daytime on a Monday while I was working. But it's not what you think. I was on a sales call, and my boss had sent me to this strip club owned by a gigantic former amateur pro wrestler, and I was to cold call this fella and sell him a credit card machine.
Okay, so you can tell by that video there from the very beginning, you would have been paying attention to that. You may have even laughed a little bit, but it's a different type of start to a video and would have grabbed your attention. But of course, then Frank made it very relevant at the end of it to talk about how he was selling to this potential prospect, and it goes on from there to explain how this falls into like his lesson in his video itself. So it's grabbed your attention from the very beginning. Now, that's something you can do at the start of your video. You also need to make sure that you might want to use something called adjucation. Now, adjucation is obviously education in the form of an advert, and there's a few processes to it, but I want to walk it through with you so it's nice and easy for you to replicate the same thing. So you want to make sure you include a claim at the start of this section of the video. You might say something like, okay, so in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 things that you can do right now that will dramatically improve X, Y, or Z. And you might want to add on to that, so you can, and then add in the benefit at that point. It's just making sure that you tell people why they should be watching the video, and you're kind of selling the content at that stage. So they think, okay, I'm going to hang around for that. And if you make it a 3-step thing, or you start a story, or you go through some case studies or something along those lines, it allows people to like buy time from people. If I tell you there's 3 things to go through, then you're not going to just quickly disappear. You're going to want to listen to all 3 things, as long as the first 2 things are pretty good. So include a claim at the start, at that part of the video. But you also want to include some quick credibility. Too many people try and force way too much credibility into their videos of saying they've done this and they've done that and there's so many people they've helped and stuff. People don't really mind too much about that information. You'll be surprised. I think that a lot of people watch videos and what they want to see is just someone like just give them a bit of a tick in the box to be like, all right, you're trustworthy. That's all that's needed. Now that could be the style of your video ad. It could be almost like a quick demonstration that you've been on stage in front of thousands of people, or maybe you've won awards or whatever it might be. But you're just quickly saying, hey, look, this is the stuff I'm about to teach you. You can trust him because I've done this, that, and the other. Or this is the stuff that I've shared in my published book. Or this is something that I've shared off on stage many times before. And you might want to have some B-roll at that point showing you on stage. Anything you can do just to really quickly build credibility. It's a 1-sentence thing. You don't want to come across as very arrogant or anything like that. People don't need that at this stage of the video. They just want, okay, cool, you're already expert. Now, once you've done that, you also want to include your content. And you want to give some sort of demonstration, maybe a story, a case study, any success story that you might have as well. Anything that positions this education that you're about to share with somebody and the content you're about to share with somebody in a way that makes them feel like, wow, this stuff actually works. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick demonstration from Neil Patel here, and you can watch this section of the video and I think you're going to really see how this stuff can work.
Once you write very detailed content that's better than someone else's, using BuzzSumo, you can click on View Shares, see everyone who shared that piece of content on Twitter, hit them up, right? You can take their Twitter user IDs, go to Twitter, Google their names, find their email address. I know it's a bit of work, but anything worthwhile requires some work. And then you can message them like, hey John, I noticed you shared this article by Sam from TechCrunch that broke down how Google Analytics screwed online marketing. And I have a similar article that's coming out, but mine talks about how Google Analytics has helped marketing. Cheers, Neil. John will probably respond back with, sure. Then you want to email him back with, here you go, cheers, Neil. P.S. If you shared it, not only will it make my day, it'll make my year.
Okay, so as you can see, it's good content, it's a good tip in the video itself, and the viewer's going to be like, great, I've got that really clear demonstration, because when he talked about BuzzSumo, there was a kind of like a quick show of BuzzSumo's website so you can see exactly how you would use it. And then also, as he was speaking it through, he would almost like illustrate what the email would look like that would be with the exchange of this person. So it makes you feel like, wow, I can actually see this in practice. It's a really clear demonstration. And so as you as the viewer, it's engaging, and also it's great content for you as well. A new tip that you might think, wow, that's great. I never thought of it like that before. Because what you're aiming to do at this point in the video is someone to say, thanks, what's next? That's what you want to do. You want to give that demonstration of really good value, make them say thank you, what's next? That's something I learned from Frank Kern, and it's something that works very powerfully in video. So, those are two ways of, or not two ways, but kind of like a good way of beginning the perfect video ad. And I'll talk about how you structure this for different types of people in just a second. But the final part is the call to action. And this is kind of unique to YouTube. So this is really important. If you've done lots of video with Facebook before, that's great. This is why the call to action is different when it comes to YouTube. And let me walk it through with you, because something you want to do is make sure your next step, if you've got someone to say thanks, what's next? You want to make sure it's a logical next step. That's really important. So don't go and give them an offer that's something completely different to what you've been talking about, or in a completely different medium, perhaps as well. What I mean by that is that if someone's watching your video and then you've got this like really long ebook, for example, it's probably not going to be the easiest thing to sell. A book might be different because that's more of a positioning tool, but something that's kind of like very laborious to go through. They've gone to YouTube because they want video. Maybe follow up with the video. It can work really well. Webinars can work really well. All that sort of stuff can work really well. Every offer that we've ever promoted, in fact, can work really well. So we're not ruling anything out here, but I try and keep the same sort of medium, keep that same logical step by step for people. So it feels like, yep, that makes sense. Let's move on to the next thing. You want to keep it logical, but you also want to make it really clear for people as well. I recommend that you, once you talk about your call to action, you're going to tell them what's next, the benefits or what steps are involved, so it's just like really clear. But my biggest tip here is to make it as easy as possible for people to make that next step. If you make it difficult, or if there's any clunky process for becoming a registration, or someone who registers, or someone who buys something, if it's too clunky, you're going to drop huge amounts of conversion here, because this is a continuation of the journey for somebody. You might get someone to the buying state, they're ready to take action, they're ready to make a commitment either with their name and email with you or make a purchase with you, and if it's clunky and it's difficult, they'll disappear. So make this as easy as possible for people. Let me give you an example of what happens with using an end screen. This is a new call to action using YouTube, and it's just part of your YouTube video. So when you upload your video, you'll have the option to add end screens in the info and settings section, and I highly recommend you use end screens, but I want to show you how they look and some tips here as well.
And I'll throw in that 12 weeks of an online course on motivation for free. Click the link. I'll see you on the other side. Congratulations on your commitment to your personal mastery and staying motivated to live the life of your dreams. We all want more.
Okay, so as you can see, it was quite simply the end screen was a button on the video itself, and you can have people click that link to go directly to any web page that you wish, as long as that website is associated with your YouTube channel, and you can do that inside of your settings. If you go to settings, I think it is your channel, and then go to the advanced section as well. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see your associated website. You add your website in there, you submit it through the Webmaster Tools, and then inside of that, they'll ask you to add an HTML file or an HTML tag to your page. And once you've done that and confirmed and verified, then you'll be good to run these types of links to your website. Now, I know that I probably should have given you a visual demonstration of that, but I tend to do a few things off the cuff when we do the training like this. Okay, so hopefully you get the point. We're trying to create this good video ad with a real clear call to action at the very end of it. Now, you don't need all parts of each video if you know where you're getting in front of your customers with. If you're getting in front of window shoppers, it's a different approach than if you're getting in front of in-store customers. And if you're getting in front of in-store customers, then it's gonna be a different approach than if you're getting in front of the checkout customers. Okay, so those different shoppers require different types of video ads. So let me break it down for you and show you how to do this. So here's the three types of shopper: window shopper, in-store shopper, and checkout shopper. And here's the three different sections of any video that you might like to include in a video. Now, when you create your videos, if you're getting in front of a window shopper, you will need to have a schema violation at the very start of your video. You need to grab their attention from the very beginning. And once you've grabbed their attention, then you're going to flow into the education section of the video. You're going to give them the 3 tips, the case studies, the credibility, the claim at the very beginning as well. You want to give people that good content so they feel like, wow, you've just demonstrated that you're really valuable and I've got some amazing stuff from you. And then at the end, you're going to definitely want your call to action at the very end of the video. So it's one video which includes schema violation, education, and call to action if you're getting in front of window shoppers. Now, if you're getting in front of your in-store shoppers, if you already know your audience are just generally searching for what it is you do, say for example you run an SEO business, for example, and you're an agency doing SEO, then people that are looking to promote their business just generally, or are watching Gary Vaynerchuk style videos, then those people are window shoppers to you. But let's say, for example, you're getting in front of people who are already looking up SEO tactics and strategies online. They're going to YouTube and they're typing in how to go and get more backlinks to my website, perhaps. If they're asking those sorts of questions, then that's a perfect time for you to get in front of them. But they don't need, their attention is already on this subject. So you don't need to grab their attention with a schema violation. So as a result, get rid of the schema violation. You probably don't need it. If you included it, it's not going to be the end of the world, but it's probably best you just move straight into the content. And so you can just start off with the claim. You can start off with, in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 strategies that are going to work to get your website ranked on Google, perhaps. Depends on what niche you're in and what content you want to share, but I'm sure you get the picture there. Build a bit of credibility, give them the 3 tips, give them really good advice, and then you're going to want the call to action at the very end of the video to say, if you like this content, I've got some amazing stuff for you on a webinar. All you need to do is click the link and go and register right now. Something along those lines. So you probably just need the education section and the call to action section. And of course, if you're getting in front of checkout shoppers, these people have already made their decision. They kind of know what they're going to buy. They just need a bit of a push over the edge to say, yes, I'm going to go and buy. Or maybe these people have been to your website before, checked out your products, they know exactly what it is you've got, and you're doing a kind of a remarketing campaign. These people don't need to go back and go to the research section. They don't need the schema violation. All those people need is a call to action. So you can say to them, okay, look, if you're ready to make a purchase, or hey, if you're in the market for looking for this type of information, why not sign up for the webinar that I have this evening? It's going to cover these 3 different things. You're going to absolutely love. Sign up here. And you make it as simple as possible. No more education, no more schema violation. Just get to the point, because these people are so close to making a decision. You just want to kind of really help them with that process with a clear call to action. And you can almost like do that direct TV style advertising, and that would work particularly well. So once you've been through that first section, we talked about the different types of customers and now the different types of video ad and some demonstrations here, you should be able to kind of use this grid to know how to create the perfect video ad for your audience. And once you've got that, then we need to get it in front of your ideal audience and where they're at with their buying cycle. Let me just put that down for a second. Where they're at with their buying cycle, and as a result, we can get the right ad in front of the right person at the right time, and of course with the right offer as well. So in the next video, we're going to talk about reaching your customer when they're in their moment.